Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. Also to all our viewers for staying with us and watching till the very end. We have very limited time, about 30 to 35 minutes. So let's get on to it. Starting from the beginning, what do we mean by not just meeting, but exceeding the overall care expectations and experience? So we are starting from the ground up. So if we can start with you, ma'am.
Thanks, Asawari. Thanks. Meeting expectation of customer is a big challenge to start with. Exceeding is another mountain to climb. But it can only happen when we strive towards personalization. It cannot be a general standard laid down. Customized also is not enough. Personalization, which means what are we doing for each individual customer or patient that walk into our hospital, understanding the unique requirement versus just standard requirement. Okay, they come here for treatment, they've diagnosed, their clinical outcomes is done. That's not enough. I think that's why this experience, the patient experience terminology is now picking up everywhere, not just in India, but across, which means beyond clinical outcomes, how are we looking at what is patient really wanting? Not in general sense, but in individual. For that to happen, we need to have an engagement in place, a personalized engagement, not a transactional interaction, wherein we are able to interact, know more about them deeply, to be able to identify what would they need beyond what is there for us to offer. For example, in some of the hospitals, what we've done is, with the help of technology, I'm proud to say that every individual, every nurse who would walk into a room, or even our patient care team, they would have in a tab before entering the room, they would know what is this whole entire history geography about the customer, not just about clinically, but also what are their preferences, even small thing. Would they like to have, a blanket aside, or would they like to have, who was the family members around them? Who was the family member who decision maker? What would they really want? So that when they walk in, they are not just going with the clinical discussion, but they are intelligently asking, you needed this, did you get it? Or can I get you? And with technology also helps when they come next time, you're already prepared. So how are you personalizing is where the key is to exceed customer expectations and taking a cue from there.
Yeah, thank you so much. I will come to Ms. Netra after Dr. Adith. I have a very specific question for you. So my next question is to Dr. Adith. Sir, can you please talk about how, in this aspect that ma'am has set up, where does technology and all these latest advances come in? How can we leverage from that? And are they even a good, tool to use for our end goal, which is to exceed patient experience and expectations?
Thank you for bringing that up right after ma'am said, because essentially we all want to bring in technology. The medical field has a love-hate relationship with technology. We simultaneously want to both adopt the latest tech, but we are often also a little suspicious of newer tech being peddled to us before it's ready for adoption. But from that point of view, I would say that there are two main aspects where technology can actually make a very big impact in terms of patient safety and in terms of patient experience. So well-trained healthcare professionals will be pretty much one of the biggest impacts on improving patient safety. And when it comes to enhancing patient experience, that is an area where newer technology can actually make life in the hospital a lot easier for the patients. And if you want to be even more specific, coming from my personal experience, the use of newer technology like virtual reality in bringing down the amount of pain experienced by patients, even for patient education, it has shown remarkable results in bringing down the patient anxiety levels. And this is at a stage where it's still being trialed, but there is a lot of scope for that moving forward.
Okay, just a counter question. So when we are talking about all these technologies, specifically AI, ML, and virtual reality, we're not able to imagine them completely being fully utilized in the hospital and care settings even still. We're talking about it, we're reading about it, yes. But I'm not able to see that day in and day out. Of course, it is there and being utilized in terms of analyzing the reports, predicting the data, and predicting, diseases, etc. But can you share some examples wherein the patients, the users can see these kind of technologies at play in front of their eyes?
Absolutely. So, like I said, some of these technologies had a false dawn maybe about a decade back. Everyone started speaking about virtual reality about 7-8 years back. It was nowhere near ready for adoption. So I think that probably caused a lot of, I would say, a sense of apprehension for the medical professionals as to why we didn't adopt it, even though it has been around for a long time. But moving forward, I think that era is now done. We are actually seeing that we have reached the time where there is proper applications in the field which are actually happening. So in medical colleges, we have more than 3,000 students just on our platform in India who are training on virtual reality on a week-to-week basis. And for example, in a clinical setting, like I mentioned, pain management has actually brought down opioid dependence by around 60% in some studies. And this is a major crisis which they're already battling in US. So I see that as a potential area of a major impact in the near future.
And I'd like to talk about
Please.
The application of VR. In Apollo, we have your health check, and we have this HoloLens. We show to the patient how the heart looks like, and they like, oh really, this is amazing. And after 3 months of, whatever, following the advice, they again see with that VR. So they're able to relate to it much more than the physician just saying, okay, this is what is happening to your valve and arteries and all that. So that really helps.
And that is a great way to overall bring in patient satisfaction. When they're able to analyze and understand what is going on, how it looks like, what is actually happening, they're more satisfied with the overall experience of the hospital, from the doctor, from the care staff. My next question is to Dr. Naga Nischal on the same note. So how can we ensure that effective communication between healthcare providers and patients for enhancing their overall care experience? Where does communication in essence play up in their overall experience and their patient care journey? And should we even prioritize it when we're talking about enhancing their well-being and care?
Yeah, the age-old question of communication, and the mode of communication is changing. If you zoom out and look at what medicine has been, patient comes to the hospital, examined by a nurse, seen by a doctor, billed, goes home. That's a very transactional way of looking at medicine. That's what we are all used to, right? From the transactional phase is when we came into a preventive phase, where everybody said we need to get health checks, we need to look at labs, you need to see how we can prevent. I think where we are currently is in a kind of a predictive phase of medicine, where neither the patient, nor the organization, nor the doctor wants to engage only when there is a problem. So you have to understand that communication with the patient starts even before they come to the hospital, inside the hospital, and after they go home. So there is no other platform or leveler for this communication than a tech, because it's available for everybody, it's accessible, and it's not very expensive. So a very important patient experience is what all of us as organization measure is your feedback. It's painful sometimes, and but that's something all of us value, everybody sees, but what do you do about it, right? So a very quick, long story short, we looked at our patient experiences and we quickly realized that many patients had few questions that they forgot after they saw a doctor. it happens to you, it happens to me all the time, even though me being a doctor. So we used technology to build a platform, and it's called as Cloudnine Community. It's a platform. You can post your small questions on the platform, which is a qualified doctor being there, who can help you with those small things that you've forgotten. They're too small to get another consultation and ask questions. Technology is a absolute enabler and democratizing commodity, according to me. Everybody can use. So technology is a very effective method to communicate with your patients even before they come, after they come, and after they even go home. And you can keep them, the technology is the adhesive that you use so that they use your services again.
Thank you. My next question is to Ms. Netra. So we talked about elevating overall patient experience and care. We talked about AI, we talked about communication. So if you can use predictive AI, the question for you would be, how can, these technologies can be leveraged to improving communication with patients and their families? Or are there any existing technologies you are using in your hospital for doing the same, so as to enhance the overall patient journey and experience?
Okay, thank you so much for that question. It's very interesting. So depending on, like the technology you use and for what particular purpose are you going to use the technology is very important. If you talk about communication, today in most of our hospitals in India, we are treating patients coming from different countries. Okay, how do we communicate with them? I remember in about 19 or 20 years back, when international business had just started picking up in India. And that's when, we didn't know how to cater to those people. And I did a needs survey for one of the organizations where I was working. And I was told that, you go and please ask the patients, what are they looking for when they come to our country? The food that they would want to have. And translators, do we have enough translators to kind of communicate with them, because it was difficult. We came up with these small initiative of these flashcards, wherein we had water written and we had pain written, we had doctor written, so we left those that pack of flashcards with the patient, so that in their own language and in English, so that we could understand what the person is trying to communicate. But I think though that is 19, 20 years back, we've come a long way from there. Today we have devices wherein, you can speak in your language, the other person speaks in his own language, and it gets translated. And it becomes easier for the doctor to treat the patient, becomes easier for us to understand the needs of the customer, and then accordingly, customize things for them. I remember even, going to the extent of building one part of the kitchen, where food could be made for them. And in the organization that I'm working today, we cater to a lot of international patients, and we call the interpreters with their cooks, and we tell them, say they understand the cooking style, they understand everything. Why don't you cook for them and teach our cooks how to make food for them? And then communicating, of course, translators are a very big help. Okay, they do come with a price. But then there is a lot of technology today which we can leverage upon. And I think technology is an enabler that will always be there to help us and take us forward in the journey that we are trying to create and trying to improve the experience of a customer.
Thank you, ma'am. And it is so nice hearing all these examples where, technology is currently being used on this day to elevate the overall health experience of the patient and the family. My next question is to Dr. Parameshwara. Most of the times we are focusing on while the patient is there with us in the hospital, and we forget to acknowledge that care is even required once it's discharged, once the operation is being done. So I would like to know from Dr. Parameshwara, so can you please elaborate what kind of care is actually required, post-operative care is needed by the patient during the recovery phases after surgery, and can you also please elaborate on the significance of operative care, the significance and what kind?
Yeah, thank you very much. See, the patient experience and patient expectations exceed beyond the operating rooms and the hospital wards. Here, I'm a GI surgeon. Though I'm a GI surgeon, when I started operating, I saw the volumes in the last 2 centimeters of the anal canal. So that's when I started operating only piles, fissure, fistula, and other anorectal problems. It was a pain in the A for most of the patients, and it became pain in the A for me also. As Amit said, the most impatient is the patient in the healthcare. After the patient, went home, they had a lot of pain in the anal canal, and the pain management became very, very difficult. And patient would come back to the hospital with pain, and I used to give my personal number, WhatsApp number, and tell the patient, in case you have any issues with the pain, please WhatsApp me, I will respond to you. Initially, when I was operating about 50 cases a month, 100 surgeries, then it became 300 surgeries a month, and I could handle these patients. It was really a big pain. So with this, the post-operative care, it's very, very important in any specialty. Today, across the globe, there are about 8 to 15% of post-operative cases going in for complications, and 7.7 million patients die within first 30 days of surgery. About 7.7% of all death, post-operative deaths. Now here, post-operatively, there are two things. One is the post-operative wound recovery, the pain management, psychological and the emotional support to the patient, not only from the family, but also from the caregivers. People have forgotten that the patient's safety goes beyond hospitals. In any discharge summary you see in any hospitals, corporate hospitals, in case of any emergency, reach out to this number, resident's number. But how many of people have reached out to that number, and how many of them have given the proper care which are needed? So the most important and critical thing for clinical outcomes and that patient experience is the post-operative care, which is very, very important. Just not the pre-operative, operative and the operative care which we give in the hospital. And I'm sure all the corporates and all the growing hospitals, they're doing great, wonderful job in patient safety within the hospitals. But outside the hospitals, the journey has just begun with AI and VR.
So just a follow-up question on the things that you have shared. So are there any advanced technologies that you are using, such as AI technology, etc., to help you with this, post-operative care? As you shared that, this is some place that we need more work on, and you highlighted so. Yeah,
I'm a proper hardcore clinician and healthcare service provider. In my hospital, anybody who visited me, I'm the founder, and I would ask everybody, can you develop an app where I can interact with every single patient of mine so that they can pose their queries? There were 100 people coming to me, and nobody came out with a proper app to me. Finally, one Mr. Ravi Kundru from the US, QR Health, that's the product. So this product coming with AI, the conversational AI with the patient, where the patient will download the app, and there is a AI which is interacting with the patient. So which gives notifications to the patient on vitals, patient has got wearable devices, on medications, on follow-up, when is the next follow-up, how to schedule appointment, how to reach out to the physiotherapist, how to reach out to the proper doctor. So this QR Health, with the conversation with the like Alexa, it is called a Sheila. So with this, we have minimized the post-operative pain management, which was pain to our caregivers, and really it has exceeded the patient expectations, and our hospital readmissions have reduced to a great extent with this QR Health app.
That is great. That is great to know that we have such technologies existing that are helping you in your practice and helping so many people out there, as we have been sharing. So, as we were talking a lot about pain, I will come down to the most painful question for all the industry leaders that are here. What are the pain points that you observe that still persist while we are talking about the themes of ensuring utmost care to the patients and the families, both during the procedure and after? So any such areas of gaps that you have identified that you would want to bring out, so that either we can attract some solutions or just put it out there for people to work on? Starting with Ms. Gupta, ma'am, please.
So my mom just got operated yesterday. So I'll talk from a patient family point of view, from customer point of view. The moment she goes for an operation, as a family member, I need communication. How long? I mean, we are given approximate time of the procedure. The moment the clock ticks there, and then you want to know where in the operation is it, how much more time. So basically, communication is required. While they are all busy, what is the mechanism for the family to know? Post-operation, when will she come down to the ward? What has to be done? There's so many questions. The doctor will come, visit, and that point of time, you rightly said, we may not have all the questions in our mind to ask. How easy is it for me, for the family member, to go again and ask so many questions which crop up later on? What is the way, if they are transferred to ICU, how do I get to know what's happening, because we're not allowed inside? During COVID situations, family members not allowed to even come to hospital. What was the mechanism in place to keep them updated about everything which is going on? I think those things go on. I mean, post-operation, as you rightly said, there's so many questions. Something can happen. How easy? And they want to go back to the main doctor, the treating doctor. They just don't want to just talk to the team. What is the mechanism in place? He brilliantly spoke about his app, which enables him to also justify his time and give an answer. Those technology help. And the biggest problem is, I think, communication, I would say. While there's so much of progress has happened with the help of technology, I think there's still expectations are more.
So to this, I would like to add something. So I'll just, since she was narrating about her mom, so I'll just give you one example. I was in the Middle East for almost 4 years, and that was during the COVID times. So it was a difficult time, and most of the people out there are expats. They have their families back home, okay? And you are admitted in the hospital, your family doesn't get to know. How does the hospital communicate the health of the patient to the family, okay? So that piece of communication became a little difficult for us. And also for us to interact with the patients was a little difficult, because it was kind of, you have to get into a PPE, go meet the patient there. So we came up with a solution. So we had these tablets put in the patient's rooms. And since there was a COVID ward and everybody was COVID positive, so we would get them during the tea time in the evening, we would get them to a lounge, okay? And we called it a COVID lounge only. All of them would come in, and I would, kind of interact with the patients and get the senior leadership on that virtual platform to talk to them. And we would get to know what exactly is, what is the pain that they're feeling? What is it that they are not receiving from us? And we were able to kind of, cater to their needs, meet up to their expectations. So I think communication in any piece or in any situation becomes the most important thing for to kind of remove the pain from that person's life. So, and also getting them to talk to their families back home through a Teams meeting or some Google Meet or whatever. So this way, technology came into use, and we were able to connect families with the patient in different countries. So I think so what Archna is saying, it is very important that we interact more with the families also, because they also are part and parcel of the entire game. Okay, and for them to be more updated, for them to receive the kind of information that they're looking for is more important than the patient knowing what is happening in his life. Okay.
Yes.
So if I may add, the level of efficiency that's expected now is exactly like your Amazon delivery, right? So in operated, all communication is top heavy in healthcare. Everyone wants to talk to only the doctor. Like he is a surgeon, he operates 300, 500 patients. It's inhuman, not possible for him to do that alone. So I think the biggest thing other than technology is to make care groups. The next person who is the best person who can have time to talk to your patients is your nurse. And I think nurses are underutilized and they are undermined to few tasks, but they are the most amicable, trainable resource in the hospital who evoke patient trust. Technology, along with a healthcare worker, can definitely fill in the gap of communication. It's top heavy. Doctor alone cannot do it. And I'm a firm believer that, unless you build a good team, you are not going to have a healthy life. And a doctor who is not slept well is not a very safe surgeon.
So your views.
Yeah, I totally agree with Naga. A doctor who's not slept well is not a good surgeon also, and not a good husband and father also. Okay, so now coming to us, he said we have to create care groups to care the patient. Okay, so in our institute we have one coordinator for every 50 patients. Number one. Number two, I am sure Cloudnine is working with Life Trends, the IT guys. So we are working with the Life Trends guys, and I have told them patient admitted, patient pre-op, patient taken to the theater, how long will it take, when the patient is out, when the patient is in the ward, when it is discharged. The entire journey of the patient in the hospital, when they get admitted, we take the important numbers, maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, up to 5 numbers. All the 5 numbers are automatically notified that this is the journey of the patient happening at Smiles. So this is what we are trying to tell this Lifetime guys. Please do this for us, and this is a new thing which will come out very soon with Smiles, and I'm sure it will go to Cloudnine also.
Dr. Adith, your views.
Yeah, this is very interesting that you brought up the journey of the patient, because we're looking at ways where we can cut down the time of the surgeon, the chief operating doctors, in sensitizing the patient to the entire process. Sure that there are certain nuances in terms of discussing what the surgical complications might be or the routes of approach might be, which is still dealt with best one-on-one. But there have been numerous instances when we have done pre-op rounds or post-op rounds where, to the point where my chief got annoyed because the third consecutive patient asked him whether they could have idli for breakfast. And that's a very common issue with all hospitals, with patients wanting a good amount of information to come from the chief surgeons. But I actually wanted to hear from both of you and from ma'am as well, in terms of if there is a role for technology in sensitizing the patient to the entire journey that they're going to have in a hospital, away from the nuances. I know that we cannot allow technology to give a standardized or a homogeneous information across to all patients, but the process, exactly like you mentioned, if this is the surgery, if I can find a way to sensitize patients saying this is going to be the process. Pre-operatively, you might have this particular type of anesthesia. After that, you'll be taken to the pre-op holding. Then you'll be moved to the OR. This is the position you will be kept in. The entire gambit. Is that something which, as a surgeon, we would be okay handing over to technology entirely? Where does that barometer lie? And
We'll ask all the clinicians present over here.
So basically, technology can help, can cut down some time, but your patient still wants to hear from the horse's mouth. Okay, so let's say I'm spending 10 minutes with the patient explaining this. And like you said that I have prepped the patient, the entire information about the surgery is given, the surgery, what is the surgery, what do they need to expect, everything. Trust me, people will read, but they still want to hear, and they will forget. So 8 out of 10 patients don't even read up, right? So it comes down to consent, right? In consent, everything, the A to Z is written. Right? So it should be a bit of both, tech along with the person talking. And certainly as a surgeon, if it cuts down 5 minutes per patient for him, it's not only time, it's revenue to him.
Yeah. I totally agree with you. But the very less time you spend with the patient, the OP to IP conversion comes down. This is our experience, Adith. I strongly feel as a surgeon, we should spend more time with the first consultation. Diagnosing, explaining what you're going to do, just not in, a verbal communication. Having some kind of animation, even that patient don't accept it. You draw a diagram there. This is what is your fistula is like. This is what I am doing it. With a diagram, OP to IP conversion is very high. So with this physical interaction, our OP to IP conversion is one of the highest in the country. Okay, number two, I totally agree. Imagine some kind of your virtual reality where I am talking to the patient. This is your journey. This is where this is what is going to happen. Where every patient process is personalized to that particular patient. Then this combination of my physical interaction and digital interaction, which you call as phygital, I'm sure will reduce my time. I agree with you.
But aren't we, I've heard all the views that we are sharing that both technology and human touch is required for the optimum patient satisfaction. But isn't the healthcare industry working more and more towards technology in every sense and fashion? And while we are talking about, as Sir said, that yes, the patient would read it, but still want the doctor to explain it. What is it with technology that is still missing or that cannot be ever replicated? And, we need the doctor's presence still. Are we able to identify what, areas we're talking about?
The human touch cannot be replaced. Like what he was explaining, our focus should be on how a healthcare worker hand-holding with the patient. I literally mean hand-holding. It's called as patient touch time. Technology's role is to increase the doctor-nurse patient touch time. It is not the role to replace. That's my personal opinion. So I don't think it will. Technology can aid in my decision making, but technology may not decide, right? So people ask, so will AI replace doctor? AI may not replace doctor, but AI will replace doctors who are not trained in AI. So what you need is the current medical fraternity or healthcare workers need to become AI empowered so that they are not replaced. So it is doctor being replaced by AI empowered doctor than AI just replacing any doctor or nurse. So that's in my opinion.
Okay, thank you. Any more views on this?
I would like to add that we've moved on from experience economy to connection economy now. It's no more experience now. For them, for every patient is to build trust and relationship. There is so many options for them. Who is giving them undivided attention? Who is building trust on them? And that can happen only with human bonding, human connection. So that's what they're looking for. They're not looking for infrastructure alone. They're not looking for services alone. They're looking for, do these people really care for me? Can I trust them?
So to this, I would just add, I read a quote from Daniel Kahneman. He's a senior scientist in Gallup. And he says, when it comes to decision making, it is 30% rational and 70% emotional that plays a big role. Okay, so it could be your doctors are very good, all right, you are very close to my home, or maybe you finish this task within 10 minutes. So all that is important for me. But does this organization instill that confidence in me that, I will be taken care of? Can I trust these people? Do they bring joy in my life, which is very important? Okay, and kind of, do they feel proud to be serving me? Do I feel proud to be associated with this organization? So these are certain things, I think, where emotions play a big role, and technology can't take away that. Okay, technology can be an enabler. Like I said, it can enable you to do your task within those defined tasks, and in a rational manner you come up to the expectation of a customer. But where emotions are concerned, I think we have to be human in practice and take technology along to reduce our mundane jobs. Okay, and where which does not bring much value into a customer's life, but it does add a lot of value to our way of working, reducing our time and making us more available for the customer to be, like he said, hand-holding time. Okay.
Any more views on the same from our side? Yes. Very quickly. Sorry.
Yes, I can see that the time's up clearly. Yeah.
Yes, before the ticket.
Yeah, and I think it's been perfectly summed up. I would say that the pretty much the biggest challenge right now is to identify the areas where we want technology to yield a certain amount of power. And I think ultimately that decision still has to come from the clinicians and the hospitals who are directly working with the patients. So as long as that remains the same, I'm sure that the decision making will take its own course.
Definitely more research is required in these areas. Thank you so much. Yes.
And
Yes.
research is not sitting in R&D in a tech factory. Research should be inside
In
the hospital.
practical life settings, yes.
So work along with your healthcare workers to come out with tech which is applicable and is solving some problems.
Yes, as they say, a health tech company with no doctor involved in decision making is not a health tech company. So with that, we wrap up this very interesting session. Thank you so much to all my esteemed panelists for such brilliant insights into this topic.